Hello and welcome back to Boiler Room Reviews. My name is Ian and today I'm sticking with the horror genre. I'm going to be talking about the 1996 novel by Poppy Z. Brite, Exquisite Corpse. And shout out to the road F3L for the recommendation. More than happy to do any recommendations you put for me in the comments. So where to start with this book? Naturally, I don't want to put many spoilers in, but I'll run through the characters a little bit for you. So we start with Andrew Compton, who's loosely based on the British serial killer Dennis Nilsen. Andrew Compton in the novel is in prison for having killed many young men. He's also a necrophiliac, but he manages to escape prison by faking his own death. He then leaves the country and travels to the United States, where he goes to New Orleans. Now, Andrew's sections in the novel are the only ones written in the first person, which is quite interesting. It gives you an extra insight into his character. We're also introduced to Jay Byrne, who is loosely based on Jeffrey Dahmer, the American serial killer. Now, both of these characters are gay. In fact, most of the characters in the novel are. We're also introduced to a character called Lucas Ransom, who is HIV positive. He's also a radio DJ that goes under the name of Lush Limbaugh, who's obviously based on Rush Limbaugh, who was the sort of ultra-conservative pundit on American radio. Lucas is quite resentful in his character. His radio show is quite visceral, but understandable. He's HIV positive. We've got the backdrop of the AIDS epidemic and how gay people were treated during this time. We're also introduced to Tran, who's probably the youngest character, a good-looking young Vietnamese character. He gets chucked out of his home by his parents, and he previously had a relationship with Lucas. There are more than these four characters, but these are the main ones, and eventually, as you'd imagine, their lives intertwine. One of the most spoken about things with this novel is how graphic it is. There are many graphic gay sex scenes, many violent scenes with necrophilia, cannibalism, sadism, drug use, all these sorts of things. Now, these graphic scenes are obviously a huge part in the novel and develop a lot of elements, darker elements to it, but I found myself more intrigued by the arc of Lucas and Tran. That seemed to be more of a poignant storyline than that of Andrew and Jay. We also have the question of whether it is in bad taste to base characters on the likes of Dennis Nilsen, Jeffrey Dahmer. Their victims' families are still around. Yes, it is in bad taste, but to be honest, I have quite bad taste myself, so it didn't really bother me. It is one of those sorts of things when you're reading the graphic sections of this. I'd equate it to, if you're the sort of person that reads about serial killers, you quite often ask yourself, why do I find this interesting? Why am I reading this? But it's compelling nonetheless. And what I would say is Brite is not sympathetic to Andrew and Jay's character. They're not revered in it. They are what they seem to be, downright evil. So on the whole, I found the prose pretty decent in this, but as I say, as much as most people probably go into it for the shocking elements of it, I found the arc of Lucas and Tran being the most compelling one, the most interesting one. The ending is very shocking, but the foreshadowing in it is obvious that it's not going to end well. Not that it's predictable, but it's obvious that, when you've got these sorts of characters, things are not going to turn out rosy at the end. I would give this novel a 6.5 out of 10. Very much enjoyed it and would recommend it, particularly if you're a horror fan and have an interest in serial killers and that sort of thing. Let me know what you think. Have you read any of their other novels? This is the only one I've read. Is it worth picking up any of the other ones? If you've got any other recommendations, let me know. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.